Hi everyone, welcome back to Therapist Uncorked. I don't know why I sing the intros now, but it's kind of fun. I don't know, I kind of do that a lot in my life in general. Like I kind of just sing things. I don't really know why. Actually, I do know why. Anyway, kind of irrelevant right now, whatever. As always, this is not therapy. If you're in crisis, call 988 or 911. I am a therapist, but I am not your therapist, so do with that what you will. Anyway, so today I kind of wanted to talk about, actually, first of all, very sorry I've been MIA, you guys. I know I mentioned this in my last episode, but I was in the hospital for a little while and had some health stuff going on, and then since then I've been kind of trying to recover and haven't really been feeling so great. So kind of the last priority right now for me is the podcast. Not that I don't love sitting here yapping to myself on a computer screen, but I've just been kind of trying to survive and like not die. So I mean, that's kind of the same thing, survive and not die. But anyway, I've been trying to survive. So we've been a little MIA, but I'm hoping to get back into it. My work schedule has also been insane, which is kind of the nature of the beast in the kind of outpatient therapy world, because everything gets crazy in the summertime. And then there's just like a lull come fall, winter, especially around the holidays. Anyway, I'm rambling. So yeah, sorry I've been MIA. I know you all have just been dying without me, just unable to survive. So I'm so incredibly sorry to have ruined your life. So yeah, all of that as a little intro. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling. But anyway, so today I want to talk about working with teens. So initially when I was in grad school, and I think I've mentioned this before, but initially when I was in grad school, I always said the two populations I don't want to work with, actually the three, I don't want to work with men, like primarily. I don't want to work in substance use, and I don't want to work with kids. And my first internship experience, I worked in substance use with men, also women, but substance use. And then my last semester of internship, I worked at like a community mental health setting. And so I worked with like people from all walks of life and all different populations, but I worked with a lot of kids and adolescents. And that's when I kind of realized I love working with adolescents. So the age range I work with now is age 11 and up. So a lot of like teens and like preteen, tweens, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know. I did learn though, when I was in that last semester of internship, I definitely don't want to work with kids. So like my cutoff is I think I said age 11. Yeah. Cutoff is that. And honestly, that's kind of pushing it a little bit because working with young kids is so tough for a million different reasons. But like just emotionally for me, I can, for the most part, kind of like step away from things and kind of like detach myself like after the workday is done. Not to say that it's easy, and I've really had to practice that over time of like how to shut off the therapist brain and kind of like leave my work stuff at work. But it's substantially harder, and I don't know why, but like it's substantially harder for me to do that when it has to do with children. And maybe part of it is just because like children are so powerless just in general. And not that that doesn't happen with teens, but teens have like a little bit more autonomy. And then adults in general have more autonomy, more independence. So like when I was in internship, I worked with many different kids, but I remember there was this, without getting into too many specifics, like there were a family I worked with, and there was a lot of sex trafficking of like the young children, like under the age of 10. And they were victims of sex trafficking for years. And that was just like, I mean, terrible, like for anyone, like never okay, never like, oh my God, you're an adult, so it's better. Like not what I'm saying at all, but like, it's just, that really just solidified for me. Like, yep, don't want to work with fucking kids. Cause like, it just fucked me up. And granted, that was also like in the beginning of my like therapist career. So I also hadn't like nailed down a lot of the skills that I have now of like how to detach and how to kind of like remove myself personally from those situations. But like that just solidified for me, like, nope, we are not working with young children because it was not it for me. And I'm really grateful that now I work at a practice, and I'm sure most practices would be like this, but now I work at a practice where I get to say like, nope, I will only work with people this age and up, or like this is, and of course there's a lot of ambiguity in that, but like I will not work with children. And I love that, A, because I probably wouldn't be very good at it. And I'm not knocking on myself, but like, if you do not feel confident in something, or if you don't enjoy it, or at least tolerate it, you're not going to be good at it. Or maybe you won't be effective is what I'm getting at. And so like, if that's not my jam, I'm probably going to dread it every time I see a little kid. If I do have like, let's say a 7-year-old on my schedule, I would probably sit there and fucking dread it. So like, why would I put myself in a position to do that? And that's doing a disservice to the kid, honestly. So anyway, very long-winded way to say I work with a lot of teens, but I do not work with young children because I just can't. I can't. And there are people that are really built that way, and I love that for them. I have a peer I used to work with here who doesn't necessarily love working with kids, but they're so good at it that they're like, I thrive in that role because it just makes sense for them. So I've kind of found my niche with a lot of teens. And I think it's kind of awesome because I always say like, and when I say teens and adolescents right now, I'm kind of lumping that all in one chunk. But I found like a lot of my peers will be like, how do you work with teens so much? Or like, how do you like connect with them and stuff? Because kind of at the practice I'm at, people kind of know, and I'm not saying this to be like, oh my God, I'm the best, I'm the expert, because I'm not. But a lot of people, my supervisor included, know that like if there's anything ADHD related or anything like adolescent or teen related, come to me. Because it's kind of just like, it's my thing. And it's not that I don't work with adults, or if I definitely work with things outside of ADHD, but those are just like kind of my two, like they're my jam. And so I get a lot of referrals for people with kind of in those populations. So it's really nice. So I've really been able to grow in my work with teens, both personally and professionally. Cause like, it's hard working with teens because sometimes they just like don't want to fucking be there. I mean, that's for anyone, but especially teens, they don't get to decide if they go to therapy or not. Like usually their parents are like, yo, go to therapy. Like they don't have a lot of independence. So I think it's such a cool place that I'm in. Like I feel really blessed and just like so grateful to be in this position that I can be a therapist, that I do connect with a lot of teens. And like, I don't know, it's such a cool spot to be in. And I specifically remember actually an intake that I had maybe like 3 months ago, so relatively recently. A teenager came in, and I'm the kind of person where, and I don't even do this on purpose, I've just always been this way, like I cannot sit like a normal person. Like I'm always crisscross applesauce, or like I can't just sit like with my legs crossed or like with both my feet on the floor. Like that's just not me. I can't do it. And so I didn't even consciously do this, but I was sitting crisscross applesauce in that session, and the client was in with me, and then their mom was in with me just for a little bit, because that's kind of what I do during intake. And then mom, she and I had a little follow-up session just to kind of, talk about something. And she was like, yeah, I just wanted to mention that like when me and my client, so her child, got in the car, she said, I like Carly. She's not too professional. And then the mom pointed out, like, yeah, I knew when you sat like a pretzel, that she was going to like you. And I just thought it was the funniest thing, because I'm like, I didn't even think about that I like sat like a pretzel. Didn't even cross my mind. It's just so like natural to who I am, because my body just likes that. And so I thought it was so funny, because it's like, I'm not even trying to do certain things, but it just really clicks with certain people. And I thought that was so cool, because like, again, there are people that could work with like kids, or like the aging population, like older people, and like that just comes very naturally to them. And I think that's amazing. And like, that's not me, and that's okay. So it was so cool for me to kind of get that like validation from this parent. And then when they said that their child had said like, yeah, she's not too professional, but they meant it in the way of like, she doesn't make it feel rigid. Like I took it as a compliment. The way that they described it was a compliment. I know it sounds bad, but I don't know. I thought it was just kind of cool. And so like, it's never the client's responsibility or their family's responsibility, their caregivers, none of that, to like validate me or like hype me up. But like, it happens sometimes, and it's so cool, because then it kind of like reinforces that like, all right, I'm in a position that I should be in. Like working with teens is my jam, and clearly it shows, which is really cool. And I do have a pretty high retention rate, like in general with clients, which means like they keep coming back, but especially with teens. And I think that's so cool. And I'm not saying this to like hype myself up and be like, oh my God, I'm the best. But like, that's something I'm really confident in. And I think that's something, especially as a therapist, that's really important, is to like find your people and dive into it. And it's really scary because, especially with teens, like anyone that's under the care of someone else, so whether it's a teen, a kid, anyone that like kind of, I don't want to say reports to someone else, but like, you guys know what I mean. I can't describe it, but there's an added layer of pressure. And that I would say is probably the hardest part of, one of the hardest things about working with teens is like, I feel this like pressure to like perform almost, so that the parents will be like, oh, okay, like when my kid left session with Carly, like they learned XYZ. But that's not always the case. Like, because if you do therapy that way with teens, like you're like, all right, let's learn this skill or let's focus on this. It can totally be effective. Like it absolutely can be, but that's not for everyone. And especially with teens, because I mean, they're fucking, let's say this is a 14-year-old, right? Like what 14-year-old is going to come in and be like, okay, so here's exactly what I'm struggling with and give me some coping skills and blah, blah, blah. Like sometimes some teens come in like that, but a lot of times like they just view you, initially at least, as just like another adult that's going to tell them what to do, or another adult that's going to like reprimand them for like being anxious or like having suicidal thoughts or whatever. Like before they get to know you, I'm assuming, actually, no, I know because I was also a teen in a lot of therapy, and I always thought like, okay, so is this person going to go like fucking tell my parents everything I said, and like, do I have to monitor myself and blah, blah, blah. So it's this very, like, you have to be very intentional with how you show up with any client in general, but especially with like the younger population, with teens, because so much of it is trying to get them to trust you, which again, with any client, but especially with teens, because they don't fucking know you. They just think you're another adult, and they're like, what the fuck? I mean, who wants to go to therapy? Let's be real. Like, sometimes it can be fun, but for the most part, like, it's not great. Like, no one goes to therapy just for shits and giggles. So it's a really cool position to be in, to work with teens, when I get to just like build that rapport and really get to know them. And they teach me so many cool things. And some things I'm like, I have no fucking idea what you're saying. Like, even if I'm trying to understand, kids these days, like, okay, that just made me sound like I'm a million years old. Kids these days. I was actually talking to a friend, two of my friends the other day about e-bikes. Because, listen, I get so fucking mad about e-bikes, and like, it's not that serious, but literally anytime I see a kid on an e-bike, I get so fucking mad. I'm like, first of all, motherfuckers, you live in like an area where you can absolutely just normal bike anywhere. Like, unless you're going like a far distance, but like, why do you need an e-bike? First of all, they're so fucking expensive. Second of all, can't you just get a normal bike like all of us did? Like, that was how we all stayed skinny back in the day, first of all. I mean, our parents also, you know, like cooked for us usually. So like that helped because we didn't have to worry about feeding ourselves because they did it. Okay, that statement is me coming from a place of privilege, but you know what I mean? So like, I don't know why I started talking about this, but I was talking to a couple of my friends that have kiddos, and I was like, please, for the love of God, do not buy your kids fucking e-bikes, because I will hate you guys forever. And both my friends responded and were like, absolutely not. Like, they just need to pedal like we used to. And I'm like, you know what, period. Like, thank you, because e-bikes are so fucking annoying. And when I see a pack of like teenagers on e-bikes, like 5 of them, I'm like, I hate every single one of you. Like, it's not even that serious. Like, it really doesn't matter. It just makes me so fucking mad, and I don't know why. But anyway, this is why I started talking about that, because some of the things that like teenagers do now and that they like explain to me, I'm like, what are you saying? I do not understand. But then other things like are so similar to experiences that I had as a teen. And even though like I'm 29 years old, I'm either double or almost double the age of half of my clients. So even though like we're from very different like lives, and really like 15 years, 14 years doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but like 29 versus like 14, 15, like that's a big difference. And the world has changed a lot in that time. So it's kind of cool to see like all the similarities and differences between like my life and like teens now, and it's just so interesting. So I love to hear like all the cool things that teenagers teach me, and some of the things I'm like, I am not retaining any of this. Like this, I'm trying, like I'm really trying. Listen, like I'm locked in on this, but and sometimes they make me feel very stupid, unintentionally, sometimes intentionally though. which goes right into the topic, actually, that I think is one of the most important parts of working with teens and adolescents is having a very good sense of humor and being able to like roast each other. And I say this to like any of my peers that are like, oh, what should I do to like build rapport with this teen? Or like, how do you get along with teens? And I'm like, dude, you just need to bully them, like lightly bully them. And I don't mean like actually like go for the jugular, but like I have found being someone with a great sense of humor is so fucking helpful with teens because A, it helps to build that rapport, but B, it shows like, okay, I'm a human outside of this. Because again, a lot of them view you as just this other adult that I kind of have to like report to, or I have to, you know, like they have teachers, they have coaches if they're in sports, they have parents, they have maybe babysitter. Like there are so many adults that there is like an inherent power dynamic, of course, between teens and any adult. Like, of course there is. Even as a therapist, like there is a power dynamic. Like I am, not that I view myself as above you, but like I am an adult in a place of authority over you right now. And I don't mean that in like a like demeaning way at all. It's just kind of how it is. I mean, you go to a doctor even as an adult and like the doctor they're in a position of power over you. So it's just kind of a thing. So I think having a really good sense of humor and just being like a human outside of being a therapist is so important, especially for teens, because then they can get more comfortable with you and just see like, okay, like she gets it, you know. And even if I don't get it, I'll ask. Like I had a client this morning that was explaining something they're interested in, and I was like, I literally said to them, I said, I have no fucking idea what you're saying to me right now. And they like busted out laughing and they're like, oh my God, like of course, I'm not just out here like swearing a million times in front of teenagers, but they always, I mean, I read the room. Like some teens I won't swear in front of if there's certain things where I'm like, ooh, they're not going to receive that well. But some, like, I think they really respect it because it shows like I'm a human being. I'm not this like robot. And again, some therapists are very like rigid in things, and like that can be very, very successful and effective, but like that's not me. And so I'm not going to pretend it is. Because it wouldn't be effective because it wouldn't be authentic for me. So that's something that I love about working with teens is like I can show them like, hey, I'm a human being. And oftentimes I'll talk about like my cats, or, you know, like, oh, I went to this cool thing over the weekend, or, you know, oh, I saw that this happened, and oh my God, were you there? Just, you know, like I'm a whole ass person outside. And I do that with other clients too, like older, not teens, but I don't know, it's just like a cool part of being a therapist that works with teens that I get to like kind of see the world through their eyes because they explain it to me, and that's so cool to me. Especially when I like don't understand something, they're usually pretty like helpful with explaining it. And then they also like, even if I personally like wouldn't, how do I word, like for example, like so many of my teens are really into anime, and I know I've explained that before, and it's so funny to me because like it's such a thing right now, but like so many of them are into anime, and like that's not my thing, like not my jam at all. But I will sit there and listen to someone talk about anime for our full fucking session if that's what is necessary to make them feel comfortable. And it's so cool because you get to see them kind of like light up when they're talking about something they enjoy or something they're interested in, and that's such a cool like spot to be in for me, because I'm like, we're just here learning about each other and I'm getting to know you, and it's a very important part of the therapeutic process is that relationship. And I know I've touched on that before because I truly believe that, like, I mean, and scientifically, like it's literally proven that the therapeutic relationship is the biggest indicator of quote unquote success in therapy. So really honing in on that with teens is awesome. And like I said earlier, it is kind of tough sometimes when I feel like I have to like perform almost for parents, but then really giving myself permission to be like, okay, this teen needs to learn how to trust me, and it might take a really long time. Like I have some teens that I've been working with for over a year, and they're just now beginning to get to a place where they can talk about like the deeper or more heavy things, those heavier things. And it sounds like that's a long time, because it is. Like a year is a long time. And can you imagine coming into a room as a, let's say, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, let's go with 13. I don't know why it feels right. Can you imagine coming into a room at the age of 13? Obviously they're here for a reason. Let's say self-harm. Okay, so let's say, oh my God, parent brought me in because of self-harm. What 13-year-old is just gonna like open up to this random fucking stranger sitting in front of them being like, tell me about how you want to slit your wrist? Like, come on. You know, like, who's gonna engage in that, you know? So while, I mean, in those situations we do safety planning and all, like, that's a more extreme example, but I do run into that a lot. But just giving teens the opportunity to like really slowly trust you is so cool, and you can just see the shift sometimes, and it's really interesting to like watch that happen and watch them slowly, week by week, like get to know you and look forward to telling you things. And then you can really get into like the deeper stuff because you've given them the opportunity to slowly get to know you and trust you. And in addition to like getting them to trust you, I think part of that, like I said earlier, is like being able to kind of roast each other and like have a good sense of humor. And that's something that I think is probably one of the most effective things that I do with teens. Literally this whole episode just feels like me being like, oh my God, I'm great and amazing and perfect. But I promise that's really not the intention. I just kind of want to like, I don't know, just like share my experience of working with teens because it is so cool. But being able to like have a good sense of humor and kind of like roast them, and then be receptive when they're roasting you. I mean, to an extent, like, of course, there's boundaries on both sides of like what we can do, but like being able to kind of poke fun at each other is a really great way to like learn about them, about their boundaries, about how they see me, about how I see them, and just kind of like feel more comfortable. So it's not this like, we have to talk about serious things all the time. Like, no, you can talk to me about, sure, you can talk to me about your self-harm or your trauma or whatever it is, or you can tell me about golden retrievers that you saw on your walk today, and you can tell me that you think my outfit looks weird. Like, or maybe all those things could happen in a session together. I don't know. It's just, it's such a cool thing to like see the world through a teenager's eyes. And I know a lot of parents say that, like when they have kids, they're like, oh, it's so cool to see the world through my kid's eyes. And I, you know, like I don't have kids, I don't want kids, so I'll never understand that like to that extent. But I feel like this is maybe my way of like just understanding the world from a different perspective. And of course I do that with all my clients because like no one person can understand like everything about everyone, but I get to get this really cool glimpse into like the life of a teenager. And it's so interesting because you're also, as a therapist, like you are a part of their life. And I'm not saying like I'm at the same level, if you will, as like a parent or anything like that. Like I'm not nearly as like influential or as important as other caregiving figures. I'm not a caregiver. I don't know why I said other, but it's just like you are a safe adult in their life, and that's so cool. And that's such a gift because like who gets to say that they like got to support a teenager through a really tough time? Like that's so cool, you know. And I, like I said, I was in therapy for many of my teen years, and that was honestly a big reason why I decided to become a therapist, is because I had so many great and not great providers, like both throughout my teen years and my adult years. I had a lot of awesome therapists and a lot of not awesome therapists. And that really drove me to be like, wow, these therapists, good or bad, really showed me that like one person can make a difference. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but like I have a therapist I saw, shout out to Christy Tanner in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We love her. Christy Tanner, 10 out of 10. We fucking love her. I hope she somehow finds this. Like if she Googles her name or something, I hope it pops up because she was fucking amazing. I don't even know if she's still in business. I mean, I'm guessing she is. I saw her, it was only a few years ago. But anyway, shout out to her. But it just really shows like one person can make a difference, and just having that like stability and consistency with someone that you trust and you know you can go to for the big stuff, the little stuff, whatever it is. Like it's such a position, such a great position to be in. It's really like a place of privilege. And I love that I can be that for teens. And I've had people ask before, like, why teens? Like, why? Because it is a very niche area, and there are a lot of added challenges of working with teens that you don't run into as much with people that are not minors. You know, the parents can be kind of tough to work with. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Like, parents can be tough to work with sometimes. Thankfully, I haven't run into that a ton. But, like, you know, sometimes like there's a lot of they want to kind of I don't want to say monitor, because like I usually don't have parents in the room with us during sessions unless absolutely necessary, but parents a lot of times will like want to monitor, and I totally get why, because like that's your kid, and obviously if your kid's in therapy they're like going through something. But it's hard when, you know, you are in session with the teenager and then the parents kind of expect you to like report back to them. Like, first of all, fuck that, like I'm not doing that. Second of all, like, no, I'm also not getting paid for that. And not that it's all about money, but like, I can't sit here and send you an email after every session talking about what we talk. No. So that, I mean, that's definitely a challenge of working with anyone that's a minor or under the care of someone else, is like that pressure to feel like you have to perform, or like you have to almost report to the parents or whatever it is. Also, working with teens, it normally takes longer to build that rapport, to get those relationships for the reasons I said, you know? So that's another challenge. What else is a challenge? Ooh, you know, something that's tough with teens is kind of like, how do I talk about the stuff that they're here for? Like, let's say if it is self-harm, like how do I talk about it, but in a way where it doesn't feel too pressured? It doesn't feel too like, oh my God, you cut yourself, what's wrong with you? Like, it's, you have to be very careful and very intentional with how you show up for teens. So that's something that's really tough. But I mean, I'm sure there's other things that I can't think of now. Or, you know what else is tough is like when they do roast you and you're like, oh shit, you're right. Like, I've had teens roast me before and I'm like, damn, like you really, wow, all right. Like something that I maybe didn't realize about myself, or like something that maybe strikes a nerve with me, because like I have my own stuff related to it, like my own baggage, if you will, and a teen will kind of like poke at it and it's like, oof. Because like, of course, if it's appropriate, you know, like it's not like they're gonna be like, oh, you're a fat bitch. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and take that, okay? But like, you know, so that's kind of hard too, of like having to manage your own shit when teens are roasting you. But usually it's all in good fun. But yeah, so oftentimes people will be like, why teens? Like, why them, despite all the challenges? And I've had to do a lot of reflecting on it, because at first I was like, I have no idea. Because like I said, when I was in grad school, I never wanted to work with like and when I said kids initially in grad school, I just meant like minors, like anyone under 18. I didn't really want to work with them, and I didn't know why I didn't in grad school. I just knew that I didn't. But since I've been in this position, I've done a lot of reflecting, and I really like it for all of the reasons that I listed. But I realized that so much of my trauma that I experienced in my life was when I was a teenager. I had a couple pretty monumental, life-changing things happen to me in the course of a few years when I was a teenager. And I spent, like I said, a lot of time in therapy. I dealt with a lot of pretty severe mental health issues during that time. And of course, like my mental health journey, like it's followed me, like it has continued. I have worked through it, but you know, like it's still something that's going on even as, you know, a full-grown adult. But like a lot of it started when I was a teen. And so I think that's something that really, like, as I've reflected, it's something that I've noticed that I think is a big reason why I like to work with teens, because I fucking get it. You know, and like I don't understand their specific experience, but I know what it's like to be a teen. Even if you have the best parents, the best support network, like sometimes, like, it's just, life just fucking sucks and no one can fix it for you. And so just having like a safe person to go to that's not in your day-to-day life, like a parent or a friend or whatever, like a therapist, you know, like having a therapist to go to and be like, hey, my life fucking sucks. Can I just like bitch about it for our session or whatever? Like, it can be the difference between life and death. I mean, honestly, like it really can be. And I'm not saying like, oh, I carry all this power and like I can keep you alive. Like, not what I'm saying. But in my experience as a teen that dealt with some shit, you know, like just having a place to just kind of like be exactly like, you can just show up as who you are in therapy and there's no expectations. And that's just such a beautiful thing, not only to experience like as a client, like when I was a client, but also now as a provider. Like, it's a gift because I don't expect anything. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like my clients can come in here and know that like, hey, whatever the fuck you need is what we're going to do. You want to talk about dogs? Cool. You want to talk about really big shit going on in your life? Okay. And I don't know. It's just like I am in such a place of privilege where I get to be that for them. And especially since I do have that unique experience of, you know, having a lot of mental health stuff happen when I was a teenager. Like I can just kind of see it in a way that I think some people aren't able to. And not saying that it's better or worse, because like, do I love that I had those experiences? I mean, no, like obviously never would have wished for fucking traumatic shit to happen, obviously, but like I love the lessons that I learned from it. Like something that I say to clients often is like, hate how we got here, love that we're here. Like I hate how I learned all these lessons. I hate like how I got to the place that I'm at, but I love that I did. And I love everything I learned. And now I love that I'm in a place where I'm able to support people. Like I am now, I hope that I'm now the person that these people were for me. Like I hope that I'm now a therapist, a safe adult for people that maybe don't have other safe people or whatever. You know, not saying that I didn't when I was growing up, but I don't know, just to be able to like be that person for someone when they're going through it, regardless of age, is just like the coolest job ever. And it's so cool. And I'm so thankful. And there is a lot of privilege in being able to do this job and even having access to like going to grad school and all those things. Like there's so many things that had to go right in order for me to be in the position I'm in. And how fucking cool is that? And how fucking lucky am I to be here? So working with teens, I mean, it's wild. Working with any client is wild and stressful and overwhelming sometimes, but it's also just like the coolest thing ever. And working with teens is cool because I get to just like make fun of them to their face and they make fun of me, and it's awesome. So all of that to say, I know this was kind of just like a ramble, and I don't think I've taken a breath for this full time, but all of that to say, my job is fucking cool. It's weird, it's stressful, it's overwhelming, but it's also the best job in the world, and I would not change it for anything, especially because I get to just like shoot the shit with 14-year-olds sometimes. Like it's so cool. And we're very creative. We come up with a lot of cool games and stuff, which maybe I'll circle back to that in a later episode. But this is your sign. If you are thinking about becoming a therapist, I don't know how many actual therapists listen. Probably not a lot. Most of you are my friends and family, let's be real. So shout out for that. But if you're thinking about becoming a therapist, maybe consider being a therapist for teens, because it's really cool. It's really fun. And teenagers are fucking awesome. And also really weird. All right. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.